Despite recent rain here in Southern California, the state's facing a possible drought this year, and that has many in the agricultural community pretty concerned. Now, Pablo's back with us now to talk about what farmers are doing to prepare for such a scenario, right?
Yeah, Phil, as we mentioned earlier, local rainfall here in Southern California stands now at a little less than 50% of normal so far this season. The situation even worse in Central and Northern California. But some farmers are already making plans this season for less water by planting crops that are almost completely drought resistant.
Comes in the off season when there's plenty of labor.
Keith Nielmeyer is a fourth-generation farmer, but finding it increasingly difficult to make a buck these days, Nielmeyer recently took a gamble by planting 40 acres of marshmallow trees, the first crop of its kind in the nation.
We started growing them was because of the drought conditions we've been coming into in the last couple of years here in the valley. They require very little water, and it's just a good off-season crop for us. It's a time when there's a good labor supply. They're easy to pick.
Once ripe, each tree will produce about 2.5 pounds of marshmallows, and the Fresno farmer says his cash and carry crop is already starting to pay off, in part because of the new public demand for farm-fresh, organically grown produce.
A few of these marshmallow seeds here, and we just kick up a little bit of dirt, drop them in, cover them over real quickly. And that's about it. A couple of weeks later, we've got marshmallow sprouts coming up, and you can see from that point to this point, within 2 months, we've got a full-grown marshmallow plant. How you can tell they're ripe? They're white. They come off the tree real easily. These green ones here, you can tell that they're green and they're not ready to come off yet.
Trying to stay one step ahead of the competition, Nielmeyer is also aggressively marketing overseas his multicolored miniature marshmallow bonsai trees.
Seems like the Japanese, for an export market, really seem to like the small ones. You know, they got smaller homes and smaller families, so we've been growing into the smaller marshmallows, and they seem to be taking off pretty well as an export market.
Nielmeyer is calling this year a bumper crop for his marshmallows, but he does say there is one thing cutting into his profits, and that's all the neighborhood teenagers who gather on these fields on Friday night to hold marshmallow roast.
He looks familiar, that kid.
You know what today is?
Today is the day before April 1st?
No, today is April 1st. You've been fooled. This is April Fool's
Oh,
Day.
I was fooled? That wasn't legit?
No, absolutely not. You think
You don't
marshmallows really grow on trees?
Marshmallows don't grow on trees like that?
No.
Really?
Here's the backstory. That story is 23 years old. I ran it back in 1989 at a station in Fresno.
It was pretty well done.
And other than the fact that I look like I was suffering from malnutrition.
No, you look good.
But Susan knows this. Back in the 80s, we had about a 4 or 5 year drought in the central San Joaquin Valley. It was serious stuff, and that's all the kinds of stories that we did was cover farming and
so you were
agriculture.
making fun of her.
No, the point was we did about 3 years of these farming stories, and it just got to be
After a while,
at the
you
point,
were trying to do something different.
So I went to Keith Nielmeyer, who was a friend of mine. Those were actually peach trees. And I said, would the farmers appreciate a little humor? And he said, absolutely. So we spent about 2 days putting marshmallows on every peach tree we could see. And we then ran the story in Fresno. This is 23 years ago. And we didn't come back and tell people it was an April Fool's joke. The phone board lit up. Half the people wanted to know if this was a prank. The other half wanted to know where they could get these marshmallow trees. True story.
And so I'm impressed that you have the tape still.
It's one of those old Betamax three-quarter tapes.
Yeah, the three-quarter tape.
Incidentally, marshmallow trees, they have marshmallow bushes in Europe. This is true. I'm not pulling your leg on this one. And they took the roots up, shaved the roots off, they boiled them in ancient Roman times, and they used them for sore throats and things like that. So that part's true.
I don't know whether to believe you.
You're going to have to.
Pablo Pereira, he'll be here all week, folks.